Hi friends, this is Gopalan. I have about 45 years of experience in sales and marketing. I started my career with Tulsi Fine Chemical Industries, manufacturers of ion exchange resins and chemicals, and later I joined Asian Paints for specialty coatings and chemicals. After this, I was with Modi Xerox for consumer durables and capital equipments. I was with Usha International for consumer durables like fans and sewing machines, and then I was with Hartex Rubber, manufacturers of cycle tires and tubes. After this, I joined LSR 40, and we are into aluminum architectural products. I would like to share some of my experiences during this long journey with all of you. To begin with, I am going to talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people, a very popular book written by Stephen Covey. Now, before we get into the actual habits, let us analyze what are habits. Now, in any field, when you are looking at people, you will find that many people who are in the same profession are not as successful as a handful of few people who literally reach the top. Definitely, you will ask me why only some people are successful and not all the people, and what is required, what is success and what is required to be successful. Now, if you really like to define success, I'd say a person who has set a goal for himself and is able to reach that goal within the shortest possible time, I would call it as success. Now, what is required to be successful? Basically, I am sure you'll all agree that you require the skills and the knowledge to be, which is required for that particular profession to be successful. Okay, now all the people who have the knowledge and the skill, are they successful? Are they effective? That is the question. And the answer is no, not all, only some. Then why are some more effective than the others? The reason is they are able to use their knowledge and skills effectively. Now, this is where Stephen Covey tried to find out what makes them different as compared to the others. And he found out that the more successful and effective people have certain traits in common. No matter what is their profession, no matter what is their vocation, no matter what work they do, whether they are an entrepreneur, whether they are an executive in a company, there are certain common traits with people who are able to surge ahead as compared to the others. Even people having the same knowledge and skills, and some even having more knowledge and skills, remain much lower down as compared to these people. The reason being that these people know how to use their knowledge and skills by making that into a habit. Now, a habit, as we have been discussing, is nothing but the merging of the knowledge and the skill and the desire to use them. And the desire to use them should be a continuous desire, so that it sustains, it keeps getting used again and again and again and again. That makes it a habit. To give you a better example, Let's look at a singer. Now, to qualify for being a singer, you need to know, you need to have the knowledge of that particular music, like whether it could be a classical or whatever. So you need the knowledge for that, and you need the skill. That is, you need to have the voice culture, the texture, the uh, sense of rhythm, etc., to actually sing. But you will find that there are a lot of people who have the knowledge and the skills, but who have not made it to the top. What is the reason? Because these people have not merged this knowledge and this skill with a continuous desire to use them. If you have a continuous desire to use your knowledge and skills, then it becomes a habit, and you start using them again and again and again. And that is what makes it different from just possessing the knowledge and skills. Just possessing knowledge and skills and using them makes the difference between a normal person and a very effective person. So, today we are going to discuss 7 such important habits that is required to ensure that you become effective and you become successful. Okay, now let's look at the first habit. The first habit is being proactive. Now, what is being proactive? A proactive habit is something which makes a person take the initiative to do things which are required, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe much later. He takes the initiative to do it instead of waiting for things to happen. That is being proactive. Now, there are lots of examples of being proactive. I would like to take up one example which stands out, especially during these times of coronavirus. It is about the proactive steps that was taken by Mr. George Bush, who may, unfortunately, not a very popular person, but still you have to give the devil its due. Now, in 2005, he talked about a pandemic which was not there at that time, but he was warning people that it could come sooner or later, and the steps required to prepare ourselves when such a thing happens. And he elaborately discussed this with a lot of administrative and technical people to understand the steps that need to be taken, and he even allotted a $7 billion budget for getting prepared for a pandemic which might happen maybe much later. Unfortunately, the subsequent governments did not use these budgets as per the allotment, and the directions changed, the priorities changed, and unfortunately today we are stuck with something which is causing a lot of damage. So if you are proactive and if you take steps in the right direction much before the thing actually happens, then you actually reduce your burden on tackling such a menace or tackling such a crisis or tackling such a problem, because you would be very much prepared to do it. Now, a proactive habit is possibly one of the most significant and important habits. So I will be dwelling on this a little more. You see, a proactive person, generally if you take anybody for that matter, they have two major circles. One is called as the circle of concern and one is called circle of influence. Now, the circle of concern is basically what you tend to imagine, or the things that will prevent you from actually taking those steps which are required. Like, you are having the ego that nobody has approached you in spite of you being the expert, or what so and so will say if you go and do something, or something that will prevent you from using your knowledge and skills to take proactive steps. A person who is taking a proactive steps, basically I'll tell you, is he feels an external stimulus, in fact much before a normal person does, and he churns it in his mind and he comes out with a response to that. So that is being proactive. Well, a circle of concern is basically something where a person focuses on the negatives. Like, you'll find them looking at the weaknesses of others, you'll find them blaming others for not achieving something. So that is basically, if that person can be better, if I can get these things. When you do this, you put all these problems outside your circle of influence. You think that it's not under your control. So, a circle of concern is basically focusing on the wrong things and focusing on things and convincing yourself that the situation is not under your control. So, you can't do anything about it. Now, the circle of influence is something different, where in circle of influence, a person shoulders responsibility, admits his mistake, energizes and synergizes people to lead them to solve the problem. So, that is the basic difference between a person having a bigger circle of influence as compared to a person who is having a bigger circle of concern. So try to minimize your circle of concern and increase your circle of influence. That's the way to become more and more proactive. Correct? And so with this and with the example of Bush, you know what is being proactive. Now let's look at the second habit, which is to begin with an end in mind. Okay, now what do you mean by beginning with an end in mind? All things are created twice. So, when you start something, you must know how it will end, or you must have a clear idea of how it will end. Without that, you should never start the thing. Like, if you want to go to, say, Pune from Mumbai, but you have not decided that it is Pune, then where do you start? How do you move about? What route will you take? How will you prepare for the travel? Nothing. So, unless you know what is the end, this is a very simplistic example to make you understand that unless you begin with an end in mind, the work will not progress properly. A very significant example is the example of an architect. Now, what does an architect do? He first creates a model of the building that he is going to construct. In that, he will calculate everything. It will be a scaled model where he knows where the balconies are going to be, where the garden is going to be, how the layout of the house is going to be, everything. And he will also know what are the material required for it. He can calculate everything, and then he can calculate what is the men required, manpower required, funds required, time required, and then he will start the work. So that from you know, a ground, an ordinary maidan or a ground, it is getting converted into a multi-storied complex. So the journey takes place initially in your mind. You try to understand where you are going to end, and then you start the work. So this is called beginning with an end in mind. I hope I made it clear to all of you. So let's go to the third habit, which is first things first. Now, what do you mean by first things first? Supposing you have a lot of things to do, how do you begin and where do you begin? You begin by prioritizing the work, that which one should be done first, which one should be done second, which one should be done third, etc. There is a very famous example which has been often quoted in talks like this about the chairman of Coca-Cola. Now the chairman of Coca-Cola, you can understand, if you are the chairman of a conglomerate like Coca-Cola, you must be really brilliant. But he felt that he is not able to be effective in terms of finishing his work on time. He always felt that there are backlogs which could have been done the previous day. So he called his friend, Mr. Lee Iacocca. Now, if you know Mr. Lee Iacocca, he was an ex-General Motors person and an extremely popular and successful consultant. And he told Lee Iacocca, I feel that I am not being effective when it comes to clearing my job, my day-to-day work. So can you help me? So Lee Iacocca told him that, well, I have my fee. If you are willing to pay me that fee, I am willing to come and help you out. He said, come over. If your solutions are effective, I will pay you. So Lee Iacocca came and sat and told the chairman of Coca-Cola to continue the work the way he did every day, in the same fashion. He will observe him for the full day and then he will find out what the problem is and give him a solution. So Lee Iacocca sat and observed the chairman of Coca-Cola, and at the end of the day he said, I have understood your problem, I will go back and give you a solution. So the solution which he gave was a very, very simple thing. He said, list out all the work that you need to do for the day, number them in terms of priority, and start doing them one by one. You'll be able to do much more work. And so the chairman tried this and found it to be very effective. And of course, he paid the fee to Lee Iacocca as per that's how the story goes. Now, it is such a simple thing to list out whatever you need to do and then number them and do them as per priority and do them. How many of us do it? It's a question of cultivating this as a habit. We have the knowledge and the skill, but do we have the habit? Have we made that into a habit? A habit is something which you need to do again and again and again at a religious regularity. Then it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, then you start becoming effective while using the knowledge and the skill. So many of you may know this, yeah, I know about it, but is it a habit? If it is not, make it a habit. you'll find that you become more effective. So this is doing first things first. To make it little more systematic and scientific, we can categorize the work that we need to do or the work that we are doing on a daily basis into four quadrants. The first quadrant would be urgent and important. These are basically time driven, deadlines driven, and crisis management kind of work, which will stare at you and you have to do it. There is no choice. So, doing dispatching goods to people or that kind of work, it's like firefighting. If there is a fire, then you'll have to put out the fire. You don't have a choice to think anything else. So, the firefighting jobs are the urgent important work. The second important quadrant, which is where I would like the managers to stay for a maximum period of time, is the important but not urgent. Here is where we can take the example of Bush again, on how he it was an important thing, but it was not urgent at that time. So but he had to think about it. So if you are a good manager, you need to think about what will happen 1 year after now, 5 years after now. So these are things, and doing that kind of a planning to get your company the required growth in the planned manner, you need to sit on quadrant 2 for a longer time. Make time to spend time at quadrant 2. Now the third quadrant is the urgent but not important quadrant. This is basically a time wasting quadrant. Like if you are doing some important work and suddenly you get a phone call. Now the phone call could be important, could not be important. So, but you take the call in any case, interrupting your important work, because the phone is ringing in front of you, and it is an urgent thing, but it is not important because you have not planned for it. Similarly, you could say somebody who has come to meet you without a proper appointment. Again, that person could come and waste a lot of time. So the urgent but not important quadrant is basically a time waster quadrant. Try to keep away from there. And the fourth quadrant is not urgent and not important. This is I would call this a irresponsible quadrant, where people spend time trying to find out what they should eat in the afternoon, or gossip about some other colleague or employee, or things which are neither important nor urgent. In fact, they are not required, but they are very pleasant. Like shall we go for a movie today evening? It's running in so and so place. Very happy doing that. But do that after office hours, or do that after you finish your work for the day. It's still okay, but not while you are doing your work. You spend time in the not urgent and not important quadrant. People who are there most of the time generally get fired for incompetency, because nothing gets done by them, and they not only waste their time, they waste the other people's time also. So these are the four quadrants, and you should try to keep away from quadrant 3 and 4 and spend maximum time in quadrant 2, and so that if you are well prepared, then automatically you don't get bogged down by the day-to-day firefighting and crisis management work. The more people who are prepared, the less they are engaged on a day-to-day battle. One classic example is a very young and dynamic executive director of Coca-Cola, not Coca-Cola, Colgate. The man was just about 32 or 33. He would have nothing on his table, not even a pen, not even a paper. And if somebody is coming with a problem, you will say, let him, you please come with your own paper and pencil, and you let's discuss and you note down. And he was so good that the person who is coming with the problem used to write his own solution and go back. So that is being, and this man absolutely used to be free whenever anybody walked in. That is being a good quadrant 2 person. You are never busy. Oh, please come later. This, that, nothing. You are always free, and you always are ready to help others, and you are always ready to study the ship. This is being doing first things first. Okay, now let's go to the next very important habit, that is seek to understand before you seek to get understood. Basically, what happens is most of us have the habit of forming an answer halfway through the other person's talk, or whenever he's telling us something, instead of listening to it completely, we try to give him an answer. So half the time we are formulating our answer in our heads, and whatever he is talking is not going into our head. You have to develop the habit of listening, which is one of the most important habits, and you will find that majority of the successful and effective leaders have a fantastic habit of listening. This is another habit we have to all try and cultivate. See, you must cultivate it now at least, otherwise you will not listen to me. So, whenever you want to make the other person understand you, before you try to do that, first try to understand the other person. It is like going to a doctor who doesn't understand what your problem is and prescribes a medicine for you. He has to diagnose what is your problem. Without diagnosing, medicine cannot be effective. In the same way, whatever you say will not make sense to the other person unless you have understood what the other person wants to tell you. So, the habit of listening is the most important and significant habit as far as this particular habit is concerned. So, first understand the other person before you try to make him understand what you want to tell him. That will always make you a highly effective person. I hope the matter is clear, and we have our day-to-day examples to tell how important listening is. Even when we are listening to our children, even when we are listening to our friends, many times we have not understood them properly because we have not completely listened to what he wants to say. So the message has to go across clearly. I hope the matter is clear. So let's move on to the next habit, which is synergize. What do you mean by synergize? There is a very, very old and extremely brilliant example, which is about the horses. Now, if there are 4 horses pulling a buggy or a chariot, And if all the four horses are going in different directions, what will happen to that chariot? It will either break or it will remain where it is. There will be no movement. So, when you are trying to reach a goal, every thought, every action should be taking you closer and closer to the goal. And that is only achieved if you are able to synergize, if you are able to move along with the rest of the team in the right direction. So, if the four horses are moving in tandem together in the same direction towards where the charioteer wants to go, don't you think he will reach there much faster? It is like that. So, when you have a lot of energy but you pull in different directions, you spend a lot of energy. You say ki you have been doing a lot of effort, but the result, unfortunately, is a big zero. It is only because you have not synergized. If you synergize, then your energy, your effort will add on to the next person's effort, will add on to the next team's effort, will add on to the next, and you will have a whole big energetic activity which will propel you closer to the goal. So now I'm sure you have understood what is meant by synergy. I think this age-old example is one of the best even in modern times. Now let's go to the last and final habit, which is sharpening the saw or sharpening the axe before you work, before you cut the tree. See, again, it's a very old example, but it is most befitting. There are two people who were asked to cut trees, one each, and they were given the tools for cutting the tree. Now, of course, in those days, I think it was in those days when tree cutting was not such a bad thing to do. So, both of them set about their task. One person immediately took his tool and started hitting the tree. Immediately. The other person examined his tool, sharpened it completely so that the axe was sharp enough to cut the tree, and he spent more than 50% of his time sharpening his axe, and then he could cut the tree much before the other person could even make a dent. That is the difference between honing your skills, sharpening your skills before you take on the assignment, instead of blindly taking it on without understanding what skills are required, what knowledge is required, what data is required. If you do that, then you end up being wherever you are, even after you have put in a lot of effort. So, sharpening the saw is another very important habit which the effective people have developed. So, with these 7 habits, you could really turn yourself from being a good executive into a great executive, a good entrepreneur into a great entrepreneur, a good person into a great person. So let's try and cultivate these habits and move forward. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed.